Hey guys, it's Casey. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hello, how are you? If you'd like to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button down below and then hit the notification bell while you're at it so you know when I'm uploading. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. I'm glad you're joining us again. So, I wanted to sit down and do a chatty video today because I just felt like it. And I get a lot of questions on my piercings and my 2 tattoos I have. And I wanted to sit down and make a video because I get asked a lot of questions about them. A lot of people are quite curious. So I thought I would sit down and answer some of the questions that I get and just give you guys some tips. So disclaimer right now, I am not a piercing or tattoo professional. Just putting it out there. I don't want to get dragged over the internet for this. I am not a piercing or tattoo professional. I am just someone who greatly enjoys piercing and tattoos, and from getting these things done, I've picked up some tips and knowledge along the way. So, that being said, let's go. So, we're going to talk about piercings first because they're the thing that I have the most knowledge on. And the first thing that I have to say with piercings is use non-iodized sea salt. It has to be non-iodized. I always keep a little container in my house, in my kitchen cabinets, on the off chance that a piercing gets sore or irritated. I just immediately start using the non-iodized salt and water and create my own saline solution. I have found that this has worked wonders in bringing back a lot of my piercings, and this is recommended to me by my piercer when I basically had a reaction to the antibacterial soap that I was supposed to use. And saline solution is just all around better. It's cleaner. It helps heal things faster. So keep non-iodized salt in your house if you're someone who gets piercings, because I've reached for it quite frequently, and I will touch a little bit more on that later in another tip. The next tip is do not get pierced with a ring or a hoop. I know that a lot of people want to go in getting their belly buttons and their nose or their cartilages pierced with a ring or hoop because, let's face it, it looks really cool. I agree. I love hoops, even though I mostly wear little tiny studs, except I do wear a hoop in my nose. But what I've learned is that when you get pierced, obviously it's a wound. It's an open wound. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna swell, and the last thing you want is something moving up and down or sliding in and out just to cause more irritating and more irritant to it. So I recommend to suck it up and get pierced with a stud and or a barbell, and then switch to a hoop when your piercing is established. When it's healed and there is no more swelling, redness, and you've waited the appropriate amount of time to switch out a piercing. So that's just something that I put a hoop in one of my piercings pretty quickly after I could, and within 3 days I was back in the piercing place. It's you need to put the barbell back in because it's just too much right now. Third thing is obviously, and along with hoops, don't get pierced with a gun. Don't do it. I'm not here to make judgment. I've done it. I've been pierced with a piercing gun before. I know. Horrible. I am not claiming to be perfect. I'm not claiming that I haven't made my own piercing mistakes, which again I will touch on, but I definitely have. So avoid getting pierced with a gun. Just want to throw that out there. The next thing is do your research on the piercing. I am very impulsive when it comes to piercing and tattoos. I see one, I want it, and I want it now, just because I like doing it. However, I have learned that patience is so key when you're getting a piercing or a tattoo, because even though you want it, and even though you want it now, you don't want to risk the potential issues that come with not doing your research. And especially someone with me, you know, I have some autoimmune stuff. So, like, if I get a piercing, I have to be really, really careful where I get it, who does it, make sure the place is clean. I only have 2 studios I trust to do that, which I will tell you guys at the end of the video for those. But do your research. Find a good piercer, someone who you like. Talk to them on the phone. As stupid as it sounds, like, they'll probably, and I'm not speaking for all piercers, obviously, but piercers, I feel like, that I've worked with at least, are more than willing to answer your questions within reason. I mean, obviously, they're not going to talk to you for 45 minutes about your concerns, but they're more than willing to sit and talk to you about concerns if you have some, if it's like a basic question. Because they don't want to pierce you and then have you come back and have to either remove the piercing or have the piercing be infected or migrate or have it be a complete disaster, because that means that looks bad on them. So they're invested in making sure that your piercing looks good as well. So take the time to research the piercing studio, the actual piercer who will be piercing. Call them, send them an email. I've definitely thrown out emails to piercers who I've thought would be really great. And I've had a few that have been like, hey, I think this would be better. And, you know, listen to them. They are the professionals. They have the knowledge that we don't as people who are looking to get a piercing. Research the piercing. Research the piercing you want. Don't just be like, hey, I want to get my tragus pierced, but every other piercing I've had has rejected. You probably wouldn't want to do that. But do your due diligence. Just putting it at that. Do your due diligence, do your research, don't rush. Piercings will always be there. In a week, in a month, in 3 years, in a decade, there'll still be people doing piercings. The next thing is beware of surface piercings. Obviously, your ears are surface piercings. They're just going through a tiny piece of skin. Cartilage piercings are a little easier to keep. I have only ever had 2 piercings migrate, one of which was my tragus, which I just don't think that the person who pierced it, I did not go to my usual piercer. I went on the night that he was supposed to be there, and he wasn't, and it's like an hour drive, and I didn't want to trek, and this is where my impulsion screwed me. I didn't want to go all the way back home for an hour, and then have to call the next day, and come all the way back like a week later, and I let the apprentice pierce my tragus, and while it didn't really hurt, it just didn't bode well. It migrated within like 3 weeks. Like, it was done in like, maybe not 3 weeks, maybe like 2 months. It was done. And then my belly button migrated out, and that I blame more on the fact that I was like 15 when I did it. And as you get older, you grow and your body stretches. So I feel like as a kid, my body just wasn't, the piercing wasn't able, obviously, to stretch with my body. And it just ended up just not being good. And I've tried it once since, and I got paranoid and ended up taking it out. So just beware of surface piercings. They are more likely to reject and migrate. But if you do your research, they can work out. And then along the lines of that, my next tip is, if your piercing should reject or migrate, please, 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 go back to the piercer who did the piercing. They will be more than happy to help you. They want to help you, because if it doesn't work, like I said earlier, it looks bad on them. It looks bad on them, because you're gonna, like word of mouth is huge. So if you do a piercing by so-and-so and it doesn't work out, you're gonna tell your friends, potentially. So they are more than happy to help you. I don't know how many times I went back to my piercer when I had my work done, because it just wouldn't heal. It's fine now, but it literally took 2 years before, like, I deemed it healed enough to even really do anything. I've never changed it myself. I've only changed it one other time by the person who did it. He put a smaller barbell in once the swelling had gone down. Same with this one. They will be more, they want you to go to them. At least that's what I've been told by my guy. Like, he would rather me come talk to him than go talk to either someone else or go to a doctor. So if it should reject or migrate, see either your piercer or another piercing professional, because they will be more than happy and more than likely to give you tips on how to save the piercing. Because if it's just rejecting, you can still bring it back. If it's migrating, there's not really much you can do, but go see them. Also, in case of an infection, do not remove the piercing. Because what's happening is you're going to take it out and it's going to close and you're going to trap the infection in that little space. So it is better to, once again, leave the piercing in, go see your piercing professional or someone who can give it a good cleaning, give you some instruction, and then continue the cleaning process how they do it, because you can make an infection go away just by keeping things clean. I've done it. I've had my rooks infected once. I had this one. And it wasn't on a huge level. It was more just like irritated. And yeah, but just simple cleaning and working with him made it completely fine. I've never had another issue. But don't take it out. And most likely if you go to a doctor, they're going to tell you to remove it. And it's just going to trap the infection in that little piercing area, if that makes sense. The next thing is change your bedding. Especially if it's a face, ear piercing, change your pillows. Every freaking day. Change your pillowcases. Change them, turn them inside out, wash them. I legit washed all my pillowcases and rotated pillows so that I didn't have to continuously wash pillows. But I had like 3 or 4 pillows that I kept, that I kept clean, and like every night I would just swap one out. But that is huge. Keeping the thing that your piercing touches clean is huge. Especially if you're a side sleeper like me, where you kind of sleep like smushed against your pillow. Keeping that clean is huge. And that's the biggest piece of advice that my piercer gave to me, was change your sheets and change your pillows. It does amazing things. And the last thing about piercings is follow the instructions of your piercer. They know what they're doing, especially if you go to a professional studio that's good and, you know, has good reviews. And don't be afraid to read reviews. I mean, as a consumer, don't be afraid to read reviews about the piercing place. Go online, see what people are talking about. Whether it's on Yelp or Facebook, you know, like, read the reviews. And especially if they list people who are great, like, think about going to see that person. Tattoos. Now, I am far less knowledgeable about tattoos because I feel like tattoos are very different, obviously, from piercings, just in healing and other stuff. So I don't have as many things on tattoos, but I do have some. 1, the first thing is be sure to know what you want when you walk in. Don't go in there and ask it a tattoo and then be like, I don't know what I want. Have an idea. You can tweak it while you're there. That's usually kind of what happens. When I went in to get this done, I knew what I wanted it. I knew where I wanted it. I knew what I wanted to say. But the artist and I worked together to pick the font and the size. And that's more than what's going to happen, especially with this one. Like this little tiny tattoo that I got. They will work with you. And just know what you want. Have an idea. If it needs to be tweaked there, it's okay. But don't go in like completely mind blank about what you want, because that's just going to not help anybody. Similar to piercings, research the studio. And in particular, more with tattoos, research the artist. Because if you're someone who wants a portrait, you're not going to want to go to someone who is into kind of like Japanese tattooing. Because there are multiple types of tattooing, there are multiple styles of tattooing, and each are different, and each have people who excel in that style. So you're not going to want to go to a portraitist if you want a Japanese style or color or something. You're going to want to find a piercer who is proficient in that style. Sorry, tattoo artist. I said piercer. You're going to want to go to a tattoo artist that is proficient in that style of tattooing. Now, mine are pretty basic, so I just went to the studio, and I have a guy I like who I know is good, who I have done my 2 tattoos with, who's very professional and great and good at what he does. So that's pretty much who I just go to now. But do your research, find your tattoo artist, decide what style you want, because it's going to just benefit you in the end. Keep it covered. Keep it covered as long as they tell you to, because while a piercing is an open wound in the sense that it's just piercing, a tattoo is literally a bleeding wound. It's like little scratches, like little pin pricks, yeah. So keeping it covered and safe from the environment for the first 24 hours is big. You don't want to suffocate it, but you just want to keep it clean for the first, I would say, 24 hours. Along lines of keeping it clean. This tattoo didn't peel, this one did. That freaked me out. I thought something was wrong with my tattoo. I thought it was infected. Because tattoos can get infected. I never had a tattoo peel because my first tattoo was so small that it didn't. Or if it did, like, it was just so tiny. Keep it clean, keep it moisturized, follow their cleaning instructions. The place I go, which again I will talk about in a little bit, the place I go has a lotion solution they give you when you get tattooed, so you don't need to worry about buying like a certain kind of lotion. They give you a little bottle of their tattoo stuff. But basically just soap and water is great. Less is more. I feel like with tattoos and piercing, less is more. Keep it clean, but don't overdo it, because you want it to heal on its own. And yeah. And the last bit of it is work with your artist. If you have an idea that you want and you bring it to an artist and they're not necessarily for it, comfortable with it, don't necessarily think it'll look good, listen to them. Listen to them. Because kind of like piercers, it's their art. Whatever they put on your body is going to be, and similar to piercing, it's their art. Unlike piercing, whatever a tattooist puts on your body is going to be permanent. Unless you get it lasered off, it's going to be there, and they don't need you walking around with like a bad tattoo that they did, because people are going to ask who did it and where you got it done. So work with your tattoo artist, listen to their opinions, listen to what they have to say. If they don't think it's going to work in a place, try a different one. It's okay. I feel like it's totally okay to have an artist be like, yo, that's not going to work. Like, I'm not going to do it in that spot. It's just going to not look right. Because one of the things they do is they put the stents on and they make sure that it rotates nice. And especially with arms, like, they want to make sure that it's going to look good when you move your arm and when your skin changes. And so work with your artist. It's okay. They'll figure it out. Trust them. And that's basically all I got to say. So the 2 places I go to, oh my god, I go to Tattoo Factory. I go to Tattoo Factory in Chicago for my piercings. My piercer sadly is no longer there, and yeah. I go to Tattoo Factory for piercings, and I go to Insight Studios for tattoos. Both places are clean, both places are really professional, both places have really good reviews, both places have people I trust to do work on my body, and I think when you build that rapport with your tattooist or piercer, it's just going to be better for you in the long run, especially if you're a repeat customer, because then you kind of get to know them on a personal level, and they're more willing to do stuff with you, I guess. Those are the 2 places I go, Tattoo Factory and Insight Studios. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was chatty, but this is something that I am very passionate about, because I also get asked a lot of questions about it because I have so many piercings and because I have 2 tattoos. I get asked all the time, and it's just really fun. It's something I'm very passionate about, something I like to sit down and talk about, and if I can help someone getting a tattoo or a piercing, that's great. And and I don't usually do videos like this, but I thought this time it'd be really cool. Just kind of a lazy Sunday at my house, and I wanted to sit down and do a chatty video, and I thought this would be great because I had just been asked a bunch of questions the other day, and it just kind of was like, well, hey, I should just do this because impart my wisdom. If you enjoyed this video, if you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel below. If you liked videos like this, let me know in the comments section. Maybe I'll do more. Maybe I'll rate my piercings. Maybe I'll go more in depth about the piercing process and tattooing process and all the stuff. So please let me know down below if you liked it, if you want me to do more videos on this topic. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.